to the kitchen at Westminster for another episode of Saving Time. This week I'm going to do cheese baked pork chops with asparagus and potatoes. And now that I said it out loud, I'm kind of laughing. Shannon pointed out last week was the tuna chops. This is actually pork chops, so pork chops. This is a really nice, easy recipe. I know you're going to like it. I know that your family will like it. There's nothing here for people not to like. Everybody's going to like this meal. You're going to love it because it cooks up easy, fast, simple prep, and you can adjust your sides however you like. All these sales this week are at Metro, and they will go until Wednesday of next week, so that's June 9th. June 9th at Metro. And pork chops, $2.44 a pound. What a good buy. Look at this stack of pork chops. I got this for like $8. That's really cheap. $8. That's a lot of food right there. Ontario asparagus, $1.99 a pound. And I decided, you know what, I wanted to have a little fun. This is gonna look so fancy on our plates, right? So I splurged a little. I went in $4 for the bag of these cute little red potatoes, because come on, we all deserve a little fancy. Feel free to cut up larger potatoes, but this is nice. Still came in at $14. I've got some stuff that I had on hand. I'm sure you have as well. Let's get busy. Let's get cooking. So I took the chops out. I gave them a rinse. And I think before we talked about letting them come to room temperature. They'll cook nicer if they're at room temperature. So that's why I did that. And that's all I've done with them. That's the beginning and the end of getting them ready. Right off the bat, I want to use an onion with my chops. So I'm going to slice it up and then we'll start assembling them. This is just a nice, easy meal full of flavor, and truly, I mean, you're going to take it to the table. It's going to look nice, and it's a bit of a trick because it's easy peasy, dead easy. And we'll just clean up this onion. I'm just using storage onion that we had on hand here, and I didn't even include them because I'm sure you've got an onion flying around, especially if you've been keeping up with the specials. That's why I've got some, is we bought them a few weeks ago for one of these demonstrations, and I still have some. If you don't have a bag of storage onions, if you have some coming up in the garden already, grab some of those. Green onions would do. And my husband has something, they're called Welsh onions. They're perennial onion. They're fantastic perennial onions, right? Who knew? I don't know where he finds these things. It doesn't matter. It matters that they're in the garden. And so these perennial onions, if you ever get a chance to get some for yourself, you should probably, because they're just so nice. I mean, they come up and they're already producing great onions for us. So how nice is that? It's early in the season and we've got them coming through already. I want to just slice this pretty thin, okay? We don't want big, thick bites of onion, but we want all that good flavor. So just make nice thin slices. Don't chop it up too much. And half an onion might be enough. I'm only going to slice half because if it is enough, I can wrap the other half and have it for something else. There, I'll stop at that. We don't need to be too dangerous. Our compost pail, oh, there's some skins that had fallen off earlier. Our little compost bowl, we'll get that going on. Now, these chops, the next thing we're going to do is season them. And I know you're not going to be surprised when I say we're going to put all the seasonings on the plate, dredge them around in there. It makes our life easier ultimately. Washing one more plate versus messing around so much, the plate washing is far easier. I'm just going to put, there's a lot of chops there. Isn't that something? $8? That's a lot. So a bunch of salt. And we need some pepper. And I brought some oregano from home. So this is oregano that I dried. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is oregano that I dried from the garden last year. And as things start to grow this year, we'll talk about them. And I'll pay attention and try to bring some things in and show you how I go about the process of drying. It's really, really easy. It's not messy. Yet we get discouraged. You see those pictures in magazines where people have bunches of herbs hanging all over the kitchen or whatever. I mean, really, I don't want that going on in my house. So my method is much easier, and wow, it's fantastic because it just keeps on giving. I've got a lot here, but I mean, and I dry it, just crumble it in my hands. I don't know if it's loud enough to hear how it's just coming off in my hands like that, but you can see it's just crumbling. I think that's probably lots. Now, we'll see if we need to revisit it. And then mix it all up. Just mix your salt and your pepper and the oregano all together. I'm gonna wipe my hands. And now we're just going to coat the pork chops and lay them onto this baking sheet. I lined the baking sheet with parchment paper to make cleanup easier later. So just flip it around. Look at it. Wow. That's a lot. So we'll brush a little bit off. And onto the tray. And just do each one. Now on there I marked boneless chops. Usually when I do this recipe, I use a boneless chop. It cooks up faster. The ones that I just got at Metro are bone-in, and they're pretty thick, like they're pretty big pork chops. So if you end up with bone-in, it's really, the difference is going to be how long you cook it. It's not a difference in anything else. You don't need to be nervous about changing the taste or the flavor of the recipe. It's just going to change how long you bake it. I'm already out of herbs. Well, the oregano, that first one ate it all. That's okay. I'm gonna do that. And while my hands are there, I might as well do that and that. There. Look at these. Aren't these nice? Like, look at how nice and big these chops are. This is a lot of food for 4 people, I think. And press it in, shake it off. Last one. So yeah, so 35 minutes bake time for boneless. You might, with the bone in, we might need to go 40, possibly 45. It's not going to be significantly different. However, just so you know, you can often buy boneless chops though. So there, that's it. This can all be moved out of the way. We can be done with that. I don't want to look at it. I don't like thinking about it that much. Just going to get rid of this over into the sink and rinse my hands, and then we'll get the next step done. Okay, now back to these. We're already cruising along here. We've got our chops, they're seasoned. Next step, put on the onions. All these nice onions that we cut up. And just lay them out. Just spread them around so that every pork chop gets some. And if you want to split them all up into like strips like that, go right ahead. If that seems like the way your family would rather eat them, then go ahead. Sometimes, you know, it's a hard call. Sometimes leaving them in big pieces is better, because then if somebody doesn't want it, they can pluck it off pretty easily. So you go with what you know is going to work best in your house. But just spread them around. That part's done. I've got a little extra here, and you know what? I really don't need it, so I'm just going to say that's okay. I'm going to let it go. Now, next thing, to keep these pork chops moist, because pork chops they can get dried out in the oven, especially on a long bake. So, mayonnaise, that's all this is. I've got about a half cup of mayonnaise in here. And any brand will do. We're just using it to spread around and get these, to keep them moist. I figure you need about a tablespoon or 2 on each chop. It's going to come down to the size of the pork chops, isn't it? How much you need. So just for now, start by divvying it up. And if you had like if you are only doing 1 or 2 chops, obviously adjust what you get out. I put the mayonnaise into this bowl because I want to be able to use the spoon, and I might need to reach back in and so on. And so this way I don't have to worry about contaminating That looks pretty even. So just get that off of there. And now with the back of your spoon, just carefully spread it around. You don't have to, if you can get to every edge, all the power to you. If you can't and you're close is good enough, okay? It's just try to make sure that you've got it evenly spread. Oops, I picked up an onion on that one. And just use the back, I mean, if you want to use your hands, go ahead. If that seems easier to you. I'm just using the back of the spoon. I just cleaned up. We can keep that moving like that. There, and that's it. I kind of want a little bit more on that one. And I'm just borrowing now. I'm not going to get more out, I'm just borrowing. And there's that part done. Yeesh. I'm going to get rid of that quickly. Okay, so you've got your chops, we season them, onions, mayonnaise, and now the cheese part of the cheese baked pork chops. And all we're going to do here, I'm going to, in case I have to reach back in there, I'm going to do this. Now I think I didn't even write down, you can assume that you need about a half cup of grated cheddar, whatever you've got, okay? If you end up with a quarter of a cup's gonna be just fine. And if it's not cheddar that you have, any cheese will do. So run with that and try not to get too nervous about it. I didn't include it because we're using such a little bit. I thought that, well, we didn't need the expense of buying more, and we just don't need it. So there, you're just sprinkling it around on top. And that's all you have to do. Try not to throw it off the chops if you can, because if it's just on the parchment paper, it's of no use to anyone. And take a minute to spread it around. And that's it. Look at how easy this is. Then these are going to be oven ready. That's all it takes to get this in the oven, and that's super simple. Super simple. A little alliteration. And look at that, we're just about through already. Now I have been preheating the oven to 350. I always forget to say that, I'm sorry. 350 is where we're headed. And look, that used it all up. But again, by pouring it into there, if I needed more, I'm not reaching into the bag. There, just like that. Let me clean up my hands once more, and then we'll get that in the oven. Okay, that's it. And that's what my apron's for too, right? Okay, I'm gonna open this right now. I'm leaving oven space because we're going to add the asparagus to the oven. So I'm gonna put this in first. We're gonna put it in for, like I said, these are bone in, so I think we're gonna need to go 40 minutes to start. And I'm leaving room to put the asparagus above them. Just like that. And I'll turn on the timer. And there we go. It's going. Wow, we are cruising right along. Now the asparagus I'm going to do in the oven as well. So that's pretty easy. And it's still the Ontario asparagus. I mean, come on, I can't get enough of it. I love it. $1.99. What a good buy. Think back just a couple of months ago when the asparagus was coming from Peru and Mexico and places like that. We were paying like $4 a pound, and at $4 a pound, and it wasn't as good. I love that about local produce, is that it's better and it costs less. There's nothing else in life that runs that way. It's the beauty of local food. It's better and it costs less. Who saw that coming, right? I love that. I love it. Grow it in your own garden and really marvel at that wonder. It's better and it's free. All it costs you is a little time in the garden, and that's nothing at all. Now, we've done asparagus in the oven before, so none of this is going to feel new to you. we are just going to, look how nice that is, right? We're going to trim the ends. I've already given it a rinse, and it was standing in water there to keep nice and fresh so it didn't start to break down. You know, I'm going to tell you, let the asparagus tell you where it's going to break. Those ends, now that it's Ontario asparagus, I want you to at least think about it. Keeping those ends and cooking them in a pot and making a nice asparagus soup out of them. So easy, so good. And if that's the case, if you're gonna do that, just trim that very end off that was, you know, cut by someone else in the field, and get rid of that in one end. But this time, because it's so nice and fresh, I mean the flavor, see that didn't want to break right there. The flavor is so good, I'm gonna put those in there, that it's a shame to waste it. On the stuff that has already been kind of old, sometimes it feels like, why am I worrying so much? Asparagus soup is beautiful. And what a nice springtime meal, right? Now, last week we had that horrible snow. This week is proper. And look at it, we're tearing through this meal. Here's another one. My fridge is nice and cold because the asparagus is making my hands cold. And that's it. Give it a little shake around. Couple teaspoons of olive oil. If you have vegetable oil, it's whatever kind of oil you've got. And just give it a little, we'll go a little more. There, that was probably 4 teaspoons, a little more than a tablespoon. Just coat it all so it's all through. Wipe your hand off now that you've got it all oily. And I've got another little pan ready for us, lined with parchment, just to make my life easy. And we're gonna put the asparagus in. I kind of do it head to toe, and then you can make it fit in the pan better. I've got a lot more here than I thought I did. I think I need to get a bigger pan. It's a good problem to have. I have one right here. There. Yeah, there's more there than I thought, and I'm not going to complain about that. And I can still make my parchment paper work. And because I use the parchment, I don't have to wash the pan. That worked out well, my little mistake. And I think we'll go the other way now to make them fit. There. We're working on the fly here. I had it all planned out and then it went to pot. So, there we go. No big deal. I've got a little bit of oil left in there. I'm just going to use my hand and drizzle it over. Shame to let it go to waste. Olive oil is a little pricey. It's worth it, but it's a little pricey. Okay, now a little salt and pepper. A little bit of salt and pepper. I'm just going to do that and sprinkle it around. I got a lot here, more than I need. That's got to go. I'm having a quantity issue today, maybe. And some salt. We won't take as much. I'll start low. There. And this is just, I mean, look at that. How easy. Asparagus in the oven is the easiest thing. It really is. It's one of the easiest veggies to get ready. And so tasty. It tastes, this is easier than boiling frozen vegetables, really. I mean, this is going to go in the oven and come out and go to the table. And it's beautiful and fresh and nice. Just give it a little sprinkle with some Parmesan. If you don't have any Parmesan, nothing's going to happen if you don't do it. If you don't have Parmesan, when you take it out of the oven right away, sprinkle a little more grated cheddar over the top and just let it melt. Not in the oven, but just as soon as it comes out. And then it'll still dress it up. There. That's going to be ready. The asparagus will take 25 minutes in the oven, so I want to follow it by 10. We're only at 7, so I'm going to set it to the side. Look at that. Look at this meal. We're so close to being organized and done. This is the easiest thing ever. Now, the potatoes this week, I decided these nice little potatoes, I want, you know what, when they're these little ones, they're delicious just boiled. They really are. They're so good, just boiled. Look at these, they're so cute, right? I love them. And you can get them in, you don't have to buy red. I thought the red would look nice with our asparagus and pork chops, and it will. And just into the pan, if you want to roast them, if you just want to say, you know what, Margot, I don't want to mess around with a pot on the stove, I want everything in the oven, they should have gone in first, okay? And you can put them in just as they are, but they should go in first, okay? Give them about 45 minutes at least at 350, okay? And if any of them look big, like you can see what I mean, like there's a difference between those two. If there's any that are really big, you'll have to cut them in half to keep them all about the same size. 45 minutes in the oven. I want them boiled. I'm not going to boil them on camera because then we've got the fan to deal with and we don't need to do that. I'm just going to cover them with water, bring them up to a boil, and then turn the heat back and let them simmer. Keep them at a low boil, simmer for about 15-20 minutes. These are little, they're going to cook up fast. When it's time, I'll stick a fork in and show you on camera how we know they're done. Okay, but I'm going to cook them off camera. You don't need to watch me boil potatoes, and heaven forbid if I boil them over, which is, you know, my gift, right? So we are just about sorted out. Metro, all these good buys. What a cheap meal. I hope that you have things on hand like I did this week and you get to do it for such a little bit of money. What meal do you cook for this? And this is a nice meal. We even splurged on the fancy potatoes. Now, and if you are using full-size, like proper potatoes, just cut them into, that would probably be like 6 pieces each to get a potato that size. Leave the skins on if you can. Hardly even any compost because these we don't need to peel. So there we go. We're going to eat all those chops. We've done very little in terms of prep work this week. The oregano came from home. I'm going to use some chives just to dress the potatoes at the end. And look, I specifically picked some with these beautiful blossoms, right? So that we can tuck the blossoms in at the end onto the plate, make it look fancy. Now, because they are edible, just so pretty, right? So pretty. And Metro, until Wednesday, I think I said June 9th. Yes, I did, and that's correct. We are perfect. 25 minutes on my timer. That's exactly what I want for my asparagus. So, in it goes. The chops look good. This, I'm going to put just above. And I'll see you in a bit. I'm going to get the potatoes on the stove and I'll bring you back when I'm poking the potatoes and ready to check things in the oven. I'll see you soon. Okay, look at this. Look at this. Look at the chops. I've just taken everything out. So the chops are beautiful. You can see that. Imagine how hungry everybody's going to be. The asparagus is gorgeous. And I'm ready to do the potatoes. Boiled them, drained them. Look how easy a fork goes in. That's what we're looking for. Fork tender, okay? Fork tender means you don't have to try hard to put the fork in. I've got probably about 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'm going to dump them on top of those beautiful potatoes. Set that to the side. And then I saved my flowers. Off camera, I went ahead and chopped my chives. I hope you don't mind. I don't think you will. You can handle the chive chopping. We're going to sprinkle them in like that. And then start melting that butter. Just toss it. You want to coat the potatoes in butter, okay? Everybody wants the butter. So just don't think about it too much. Just keep moving them around. We can start to plate. This is a beautiful meal. Look at how nice this is and so easy. Like honestly, this is one of the easiest we've cooked, I think. This is at $14. We're looking at like less than $4 a plate here, and let's dress it up and see what $4 a plate looks like in your kitchen. I think it looks like a lot. So we're gonna put some nice asparagus on there. Look at that, that looks great. Beautiful. And the Parmesan cheese does help it to get that nice brown look as well. And now a really nice chop. Look at these pork chops, these look amazing. I'm gonna put this one on here. Look at that, nice. And I'm gonna turn it this way because then it's gonna fit the plate so nicely. And that matters sometimes. Whoops. There we go. And now some of our buttered and beautiful little red potatoes, our fancy indulgence. We're gonna put them on. And I'm just eyeballing. I want this to go 4 ways, so I'm just eyeballing for 4. I'm gonna go one more. And there, and look at this. Look at this meal. That's less than $4 a person. That's a beautiful meal. Look what you can cook tonight for dinner. Cook it quick. You want to get in and get these beautiful pork chops for $2.44 a pound. What a good deal at Metro. I plate this up. I'm going to package it up. We're going to deliver this to a family here in Orangeville. We're feeding it forward. Metro donates to us, and then I donate the meal that we demonstrate here. I'm happy to tell you, a few people have reached out to me and said, Margaret, can we have a written copy of the recipe? So in today's video, at the end, you're going to see where there's a copy of the actual steps that we take. I'm going to include the ingredients there as well, although the ingredients are always on the board at the beginning too. You're going to find the ingredients and written instructions on how to make this meal at the end. When you watch the video, you can simply pause on it and have that screen. You watch on your phone, you can do a screenshot. However you do it, but that's going to be there for you from now on. Please though, continue to watch the whole video, have a little fun with me and get the feel for how it comes together. And like the videos, subscribe, hit the little bell so you know when a new one comes up each week. And for heaven's sakes, look at this. Look at this beautiful meal that you cooked. Quit letting food eat up your time and money. On.